Well, hello there. Welcome back. It's been a while. We had a break with Manitoba Music Makers, but we're back with another series of shows to keep our finger on the pulse of the local music scene. We like to support what's happening locally with all music, bands, events, and musicians that make up those bands and make those events happen. I'm Frank McGuire, your host with the most in the local music scene, that is. And we like to shine the spotlight on bands that are actually making the local music scene happen. And a gentleman to my right here that's joining me into the studio here in WCG today is Lyndon Bournon. And Lyndon and I have known each other for quite some time, but we really haven't had an opportunity to chat in this forum. So I thought it'd be fantastic to reboot Triple M with an old friend and a great local musician, a very talented individual. Lyndon, thank you so much for making the time to be on the program today.
And thank you for the invitation, Frank. Thank you.
You brought your trusty guitar with you.
I did, yes. Yes, I did.
Let's go back a little bit just to get people familiar with you, people that don't know you, maybe haven't seen a show or whatnot. How did you get your start in music? I know that's a vague, broad question. Everybody gets their start somewhere, but maybe break it down for us. How you kind of gravitated towards music and thought, you know what, this is going to be, I'm going to occupy a lot of my time making music.
Yeah, I mean, I started playing guitar when I was growing up in a small village in England called Bramshill, which is in Hampshire, so about 40 miles west of London. And I always joke that I know I was the best guitar player in that village because I was the only one. And, you know, at that time, it was just something that my older brother introduced me to a lot of music. He didn't play, but he would encourage me with music, I guess. And at that time in Britain, there wasn't a lot of music on the radio, you know, so like most people of my generation and a bit older from Britain, we were desperate to sort of listen to more music and I think play it. And I realized that I wanted to play this guitar. I can remember making cardboard guitars and wooden guitars or hardboard guitars. Because really it was people like Cliff Richard and the Shadows that influenced people of my age, you know, before the Beatles. And anyway, when I was 11 years old, managed to get a third-hand guitar, a Rossetti that I still have to this day. And started playing, and I was taking music in school at that time, which wasn't like band here. I think the band programs here are fantastic, but at that time in England, music was just an academic program, but it suddenly happened one day. I'd written a song sort of in my head, but I didn't know how to put it to music. And then I thought of something that my music teacher had said, because we'd done lots of theory of harmony and so forth. It was like an aha moment. I put this song to music, and yeah, I guess that's what got me started. But played quite a lot over the years there, but it wasn't really until I immigrated to Ontario in 1979-80 that I actually started playing out with a band, you know, that kind of thing. And so I had a guitar teaching business down in rural southern Ontario at that time, and I met some folks who had been long-time musicians, and they were wanting to go back on the road. They were a husband and wife, and their son was going to be on drums, and they asked if I would come with them. And this was a country band, a traditional country band. So this was a huge learning experience for me because, as you may know, in England, country music was always just a very niche kind of thing. And in fact, to a large extent, it still is over there. In fact, it's not the normal music in terms of how it's seen here, you know?
So it kind of sounds to me like it really came natural to you almost, that you liked music, you just kind of, you had a feel for it, and you found your way into how you would create your songs, write your songs. Did it always, like, did you always have it in your head where I have a song, I have a melody idea? Is that how you create?
Yeah, I think yes, I would write songs, I would write lyrics, if you like, and then I would sort of have a vague idea of a melody going through, and then I'd work on that, and did lots of that back in the 70s, I guess, mainly, and then but never really had much opportunity to play original stuff out. And I mean, I think that can still be an issue.
So to be exposed to music back in the day in Bramshill, a small town, really, you'd have to probably, to see it live, you'd have to travel away. It's probably London, if not close by, right?
Well, certainly some ways away from Bramshill. I mean, Bramshill's, you know, to Canadians, it would say, what, it's only 40 miles from London, but it could have been a world away. London was, you know, a mysterious place elsewhere. But the first concert I ever went to, again, courtesy of my older brother, who's 8 years older than me, he took me to see the Hollies and Dave Clark 5 at the Guildford Odeon, and that was 1964. Wow. And it was like, oh my God.
That's an eye-opener.
Oh, it was. Well, because the girls in the audience screamed the whole concert, so you couldn't really hear. And I always remember Alan Clark, the lead singer of the Hollies, reached down and touched a girl's hand, and she immediately fainted, and they carried her out on a stretcher. And but it was fantastic.
Just another day at the office.
That's right, yeah. But it was fantastic, yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so now insight like that really lets people know kind of the road you started off on, and now you can familiarize, okay, what Lyndon's all about, what his background is. You mentioned the Hollies, one of your first concerts. Is that part of your music you appreciate and you kind of grew up on?
Yes, definitely. The 60s music. I mean, I'm old enough and I've got a long enough memory to recall the tail end of the rock and roll years, you know, the late 50s. I can. I mean, there wasn't a lot of stuff on the radio at that time, but there was stuff here and there. And I can remember, you know, hearing Jailhouse Rock. I remember that. And then in the early 60s, you'd get stuff on TV once or twice a week. And on radio, BBC had a program on Saturday mornings with Brian Matthew called Saturday Club, and they would have bands on there. And then Sunday afternoons, a disc jockey called Alan Freeman, whose nickname was Fluff, used to do the top 20 hits, and my brother and I would sit there in absolute silence with a microphone and a reel-to-reel recorder recording all of this. You know, that was that. But
you did that too.
Yes, yeah. There you go.
I did it with cassettes back in the day.
Yes, you're more in the modern era there, relatively. Yeah.
So radio too. Now you mentioned your brother introduced you to music, and then you kind of grew to like what he introduced you to. But a major conduit for anybody in any spot of the world would have to be the transistor radio. So what stations did you listen to pipe in that would influence your musical tastes?
That's a very good question. Now, I can remember in the early days, the only stuff that was on the radio fairly consistently was Radio Luxembourg. Okay. And you'd have to listen to that in the evening, and the signal would kind of come in and out, rather like people here probably listen to the Grand Ole Opry, you know, WSN Nashville, you know, and you'd listen to all that. But then in 1967, there was also the pirate radio stations came along, Radio Caroline, Radio London. Then in 1967, the BBC finally caved in, I guess, and started up Radio 1. And that was fantastic, because now you could listen to music, you know, on a regular basis, on a daily basis, if you wanted to. The first song that was played on Radio 1 by DJ Tony Blackburn, who is still a BBC DJ to this day, was "Flowers in the Rain" by The Move. And The Move are one of those British bands who...
Jeff Lynne's old band.
That's right, but he was in at the end of that. The Move was really Roy Wood and so forth, but Bev Bevan, and Trevor Burton and Ace Kefford. They're one of those bands that, like, there's so many fantastic Canadian bands that are not known outside Canada. The Move was one of those fantastic British bands that really wasn't known much outside Canada, I was saying. But anyway, so that was that was that, and then gradually over the years, you know, there was more and more music on radio and so forth, but nothing like here in Canada. I mean, when I immigrated to Southern Ontario, I couldn't believe how many radio stations there were, you know, and you'd have as many country stations as you would rock stations, if you like. And
everyone had a different format.
Yes, no, for sure.
Genres of music were pared down to maybe 2 or 3 per station, if you were lucky, or more, you know, depending. If you had the mixed programming or block programming stations, you would get that. So a young lad in Bramshill listening to Radio Luxembourg and then up to BBC One years ago. Kind of like, you know, when I was growing up, people in these parts would know the stations like KY58.
Okay, yes, in Winnipeg, right?
CKCK out of Regina, and K-Fire out of Bismarck, North Dakota. So I had my ear to the radio listening to those stations. And when FM radio came in, it was always on 92 City FM out of Winnipeg. And so that's where I got my musical influences from.
Sure.
So fast forward a bit to
Yeah.
when you started to really become prolific with your songwriting and guitar playing, because you taught, you were in several bands over the years.
Yeah.
Bring us fast forward to when you were in Westman the second go
second time around, yeah.
And the bands you were in, and maybe people can familiarize themselves.
Actually, just briefly, I'll mention it. When I lived here in the 80s, Frank, which was not long after I got married, and had to come off the road as a result. Okay, so my wife and I settled in Brandon for a while, which is her hometown. She's from Brandon. Okay. I managed to be in a band with Rob Mancuso, who sadly passed away 3 years ago. Rob was just a fantastic guy, and he was a bass player, and he was forming this band, which became called Southern Thunder. And by the time I met him, he already had a drummer, Joe Chazik, who you probably know.
I know Joe.
Yeah, some people call him Joe Kizik, but anyway, fantastic drummer and singer, and we had Southern Thunder, and we were busy. My wife at that time didn't play actually, but she used to do all the bookings, and we were busy back then. But anyway, fast forward, when we came back from England in '98, and in the meantime, my wife and I played quite a bit in England when we were living there for 6 years. We played as a duo, which tends to be more the case over there, because they have this funny thing with licensing in pubs that they don't have to have a music license if there's no more than 2 people in the band. So duos tend to go over very well. But anyway, when we came back here, we had always maintained a friendship with Joe. And so when we came back here, put together a band with Joe again, which we called at that time Breadline Shoes. And then later on, we had, I've played with some really great people here in Brandon, and there's so much talent here for sure, but played with a lot of different drummers. So Joe, and then played with Ron Erickson. Over the years, with various other people as well, and Jim Luthwaite has been with us for many years, a lovely guy and a great drummer. And of course, Doug Sullivan, we met when we were neighbors here in Brandon actually for a few years, and Doug is a fantastic drummer.
He is. He actually, my first 2 lessons ever, Doug was my teacher.
Okay,
so good memories with him. Great guy too.
Yeah,
and one heck of a player too.
Oh no, for sure. So with Doug. Okay, so George Norton, who you've met before and who sadly passed away last year.
Yes.
George, I got a phone call one day from this guy with a Geordie accent, and he said, I can't do Geordie accents, but anyway, he said something along the lines of, I used to play in a country band, but I'm all right now. I said, okay.
Sounds like George.
Yes, he'd been given my name by Joe Chazik, in actual fact, and he was looking to form a band or form a different band, because he'd had one called Bluto, I think. So he already had the drummer, Steve Godai, another fantastic drummer, and Steve, bless him, hasn't played the drums now since 2004, 2005, I think. He just suddenly parked his drums, and they're still in his basement where he left them.
Wow.
But Steve was great. And then when Steve didn't want to play anymore, Doug became the drummer with the Eucadians, which was the name that George had come up with. Then along the line somewhere, Brenda and I had done lots of playing together, and I met Jim Luthwaite through Harold Kuipers, who was also in the Eucadians for a period of time. And I was actually looking for somebody to play drums for some of my original material, and I wanted to sort of do more with that. Yeah. And that's how I met Jim. So we had so nowadays we're called the Slim Jim Trio. The irony is that Jim is the only one who's slim in it. But anyway, oh, don't tell my wife I said that. But anyway, but that's who we played with for quite a few years. And the Eucadians we played for a long time. Yeah. And then I guess just didn't. We did have a reunion at the Army and Navy about 3 years ago. But by that time, George was certainly suffering the effects of being on dialysis for many years, and it was hard for him. It was physically hard for him. I know that, but yeah.
Okay, so Eucadians, the Slim Jim Trio. Let's do a tune now, but we'll get you to rewind again.
Sure.
You mentioned Bram's Hill. I understand you wrote a song about that. Was probably one of the first ones you ever wrote.
No, it wasn't, but it took me a long time to write. I started writing this song in 1977. I can actually picture where I was living in London at that time and writing this song, but I could never get it finished. And it wasn't until the pandemic came along.
Oh, wow.
And I had plenty of time to do some recording at home, and I suddenly finished the song finally. So it only
Wonderful.
took.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, yes.
All right. Well, I'll let you take it away here, Lyndon. Lyndon Bournon on Manitoba Music Makers. This one is called Bram's Hill.
Sitting on a windowsill, watching the sun come in. Flowers in a post-war garden, mayflies and the columbine. Have you seen Bram's Hill in the morning? For the dew on the grass has dried right down. Have you seen Bram's Hill in the afternoon? Me and my old friend Graham just riding our bikes around. Bram's Hill's in its own world, slowly dancing. You won't find it on many maps, I'd say. But some people find their way there for romancing. Over by the forest or in a field gateway. Sitting in a steel barn Saturday morning with a soothing rain just pouring down. We recorded the first song I ever wrote in that barn. We'd become famous just hanging around. Bram's Hill in its own world, slowly dancing. You won't find it on many maps, I'd say. But some people find their way there for romancing. Over by the forest or in a field gateway. I left Bram's Hill many, many years ago. But part of my heart still lingers there. When I need a peaceful place to go to in my mind, I go to Bram's Hill and there's comfort there. Bram's Hill's in its own world, slowly dancing. You won't find it on many maps, I'd say. But some people find their way there for romancing. Over by the forest or in a field gateway. Sitting on a windowsill, watching the sun come in.
All right. That's Lyndon Bournon and Bram's Hill here on Manitoba Music Makers. Nicely done. Kind of an autobiographical tune. It's got a little bit of... Now, your buddy in that song...
my oldest friend in the world, Graham. We grew up together, and he's still my oldest friend. We're still in touch. Yeah,
he keeps in touch.
Oh yes, we keep in touch regularly through the wonders of Facebook Messenger and so on. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Super.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of paints the picture of back in the hometown, and life was simple, and music was the big thing for you.
Yeah, it was, and Bram's Hill is still
all these years later, Lyndon, you could finish that song.
Yeah.
You know. I'm glad you played it for us today on Manitoba Music Makers.
Thank you.
What's new with the band? Like, you did some recent shows. The last time we actually sat and chatted was at an event called Jana Strong. Was at the Clarion,
yes, that's for sure. Yes,
packed
for sure.
house, full room. You were there with the Slim Jim Trio. Did a fantastic job as always.
No, thank you.
And that's the last time I saw you. But I'm sure you've been busy over the last couple of years.
Well, we are a bit, but not doing that kind of thing. I mean, and actually, Huey McLaughlin sat in for my wife because my wife was having trigger finger issues at that particular time. But yeah, I mean, nowadays most of what we do with the Slim Jim Trio, to be honest with you, we play retirement homes on a regular basis.
You're on the circuit.
On the circuit.
All right.
I also do a lot of playing through as a solo artist through Artists in Healthcare. So I play a lot at a couple of locations at the hospital, and then also at some of the personal care homes, which I love because the audiences are always enthusiastic, and hey, I'm 72, so we're sort of all in the similar age range, so we like the same kind of music, it seems, you know, that's good, and so do that. But I mean, we're certainly open to other things as well, and you know, for sure, yeah.
So it all works very well for you. What's coming up on the agenda moving forward for the rest of 2025?
I think much of the same, to be honest with you, Frank. I don't see anything much different, but we tend to, you know, we do repeat bookings at the places that we already play, and I play through Artists in Healthcare once a week, and that's an ongoing thing. Yeah, so that's it. I mean, one of these days, my dream is still, if you like, to get some of this original material out there, find a place where I could do that, but and also material that I've worked on for a really good friend of mine in England called Ray Puxley, who's a British author and who's written lots of songs. I have a playlist on my YouTube channel for his music as well. But as of right now, it's great just being able to get out and play music, and yeah.
If people want to book you, how do they get a hold of you? On Facebook?
Facebook's good, yeah. We actually have a page for the Slim Jim Trio.
Slim Jim Trio on Facebook. Trio, yes. Search it, you'll find it.
Yeah.
You'll be happy you did, because they do great work.
If not, there's only one Lyndon Bournon around, so you know, not hard to find. And my day job is at Brandon Friendship Center Adult Education, as it has been for the last 25 years. So yeah.
Super.
Thank you.
Talking about songwriting, how prolific of a songwriter are you? How many in your book since you started writing? Are we dozens?
Not a huge amount. I would think 20 to 30 songs, something like that. I don't know. Yeah. So I'm not. No, I'm not a Lennon and McCartney in terms of, you know, kicking out 10,000 songs here. Yeah. Okay. No, but yeah. But the songs I've written, I like them. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And you're busy enough with the band now, and with your musical endeavors. And speaking of which, we'll have another song for you now.
Sure.
This one's called "Lucky Lucky Guy." Set it up quickly before you dig in.
Sure. I came to Brandon for the first time in March 1982, the week after the Kelly Block fire, with a band from Ontario called Rose and Al Derrick with the Blue Chips, and we played at the City Centre. We were booked into the City Centre.
What year was that?
1982, March.
82, okay.
March 1982.
What was it like playing the City Centre in downtown Brandon in 1982, Lyndon?
It was okay. I think they were going through a transition period, and they were actually transitioning through owners as well. And I remember the first night we were there, I was really surprised. They must have been having a rough time, because they actually were dishing out a reverse cover charge for people, so everybody who came in got $1. Scotty, Scotty Linton.
How much were pints back then?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I think draft was probably 70 cents or something like that. And I remember the waitresses bringing around trays of, you know, and dumping them off, kind of thing. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was
that's where I met my future wife at the City Centre in Brandon.
That's what this song is about.
That's what it's about. Yeah.
Lyndon Bournon on Manitoba Music Makers' Lucky Lucky Guy. Check it out.
I met you in a bar, not far from where we are. Playing in a band was my life. A gorgeous blonde-haired lady, but I just wasn't ready to see that someday you'd be my wife. That was 40 years ago, but it seems like yesterday. Now we have grown-up sons and grandkids, maybe more along the way. I'm so lucky you came into my life, and I'm so lucky that you became my wife. I still can't believe that you fell in love with me. I guess I'm just a lucky, lucky guy. You keep showing up at gigs along the road. How I was so blind, I guess I'll never know. I still can't believe that you fell in love with me. I guess I'm just a lucky, lucky guy. I met you in a bar, not far from where we are. Playing in a band was my life. A gorgeous blonde-haired lady, but I just wasn't ready to see that someday you'd be my wife. That was 40 years ago, but it seems like yesterday. Now we have grown-up sons and grandkids, maybe more along the way. I'm so lucky you came into my life, and I'm so lucky that you became my wife. I still can't believe that you fell in love with me. I guess I'm just a lucky, lucky guy. I still can't believe that you fell in love with me. I guess I'm just a lucky, lucky guy. That's for Brenda.
Lyndon Bournon and Lucky Lucky Guy here on Manitoba Music Makers, and lucky us being treated to this fantastic live music and conversation. Lyndon, thank you so much for coming on the program tonight.
Thank you, Frank.
You know what? We could sit and talk for hours. We'll have to have you back on the show again sometime.
That'd be great.
In the very near future. I want to hear stories about life on the road next time.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay?
All right.
All the best to you in the future. And thank you for watching and supporting this show. And if you're part of a band, or you know somebody who's in a band, wants a little extra promotion, a little extra exposure, get them on this program, Triple M. You can email me, Frank, at sparkwebradio.com. The Spark is an internet radio station available at www.sparkwebradio.com, or you can get our app on the Apple App Store. Listen, it's classic rock, and we like to mix in local rock as well. The Spark is a proud presenter of Manitoba Music Makers. See how that works? Kind of connects nicely there. So get your music to us, get your requests in to us to get on the show, and maybe we'll work it out that we can schedule you on an upcoming episode of Manitoba Music Makers right here on Westman Communications Group, Channel 12. Thanks for watching.